Has our next guest ever been on this show, Chris? I don't know.
She has not.
Okay. I've enjoyed her work. She's excellent at everything. Writing, her tweets are great. Her analysis is great. She's done some preseason games in a booth here for the Los Angeles Rams. But I don't know if our next guest is aware. You put her name in Google, and then the first word that pops up right after her name is millionaire. Mina Kimes from the worldwide leader in sports from ESPN joining us here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Mina?
I'm relieved that it's that and no longer height or weight or husband. So
is that right?
Millionaire.
I did not know. Honestly, I wanted to make sure I had everything correct about your ability to make money for charity. And it pops up Mina Kimes Millionaire. And I thought to myself, is ESPN paying better these days? That's amazing. But this has been a great few days, Mina, to see your face and your name associated with something so great, because you were David Chang's phone a friend. And I want to start with that before we get into the ball talk here. How long do you know David? The history here.
It's been about a few years. I've actually been friends with Alan Yang, who was his in-person friend. I don't know what the designation for that is, but he was helping him early on.
Okay.
Who is a television show writer and creator. He created Master of None. So we've been friends forever, and I've met David through him and sort of the Asian Illuminati, which is a real thing. We're trying to get Kyler Murray into the Asian. He's Korean, and the Koreans proudly claim him, but he's not really Asian Illuminati yet.
Okay.
But Rams safety Taylor Rapp's in there, but yeah, David's in there, and I've known him for a really long time as a result of that.
Hines Ward has got to be a Hall of Fame member of that Illuminati, correct?
OG, yeah, definitely.
Okay, so I'm fascinated by this stuff because I might love game shows more than I love sports. So, and cash and prizes, and obviously great moments like this one. So, do you have to be on hold when you're a phone a friend, or on a landline, or something like? What is that? What is required of a phone a friend from Millionaire?
You just get a window of time, and they tell you to be ready. And so much time had elapsed that I figured David had gotten knocked off the show because I'm not there, I'm not watching. So I was honestly relieved, Rich. Right. I was like, thank God. My worst fear was that it would be a sports question and I would get it wrong, validating, millions of men in my Twitter mentions forever. But I'm sitting there waiting. Time goes by. All right, I'm going to have lunch. And then, boom, phone rings, Jimmy Kimmel, game time.
So it's not even someone from the control room saying Jimmy's coming on. It really was phone rings and, hey, It's Jimmy Kimmel? Really?
It's surreal. It's the real thing. It's Jimmy Kimmel. I thought I was being punked.
Okay, then let's walk through this here. So then the question's about the first president in the history of the White House to have electricity in the White House, even though he and his wife refused to touch a light switch for fear of being electrocuted. That was your question, right?
Yes.
How did you get this right?
That's it.
Mina? What do we got
so
here?
I didn't know off the top of my head. I just went by timeline because I knew Edison, the electric light, was late 1800s.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So like end of the century. So I ruled out Grant and Johnson. I really had it down to two.
Okay.
So I was not at all confident in Harrison, but I knew Harrison was president at the end of the century.
So you, to use the Millionaire parlance, you winnowed a phone a friend down to a 50-50, and you just took your shot. And by the way, you got that 100%. under like 2 seconds to spare. You almost didn't get Harrison's name out, which would have been just the worst phone a friend ever, to be honest with you.
I know. It kind of kept going, Rich. I would have said it's probably Harrison, but I'm only 50% sure. But literally, it stopped right after I said the word Harrison.
So when did you learn that you did get it correct?
Well, I hung up, then I went over to my computer and looked it up, and then I was relieved. I didn't know David had took it, but I knew I wasn't, the worst friend in the history of friends.
That is so cool, Mina. I mean, and then of course the $1 million going to an amazing cause, helping people in David's industry and people who are in need. That's so cool. That's got to rank up there for you, Mina. That's great.
David's terrific. He's done a ton of work for the restaurant industry, which, has been hit so hard amidst the COVID crisis. And, it was just to see how happy he was being able to help that many people was really validating. Yeah,
at Southern Smoke TX on Twitter to check out the terrific cause that David is fronting and that you helped make a ton of money. So congratulations on all that. And I love your mom chiming in. Who's got a better Twitter game, you or your mother? Mina?
It's very upsetting, honestly. It's kind of like first I thought it was kind of like a Marcus Vick scenario where I was like, all right, we don't really need like my mom in the spotlight this much. But she's very wholesome and pure. She doesn't have a mean bone in her body.
Right.
So naturally, she's a perfect fit for Twitter, right?
Right.
It's only wholesome tweets about Tottenham, the soccer club, and retweets of me. That's the entire thing.
I love it. I think we didn't waste money on your tuition. That's a very good response right there from your mom. Your mom, the Marcus Vick of Twitter. I don't know if that's going to ever happen, but that's funny. Mina Kimes here on the Rich Eisen Show. Okay, I give you the floor on the Seahawks here, who is a team that's after your own heart right here. Who are the Seahawks 2020? Walk me through what you think.
That's a great question. Well,
Thank
I don't
you.
think we learned much last night, unfortunately, because of the competition. I think that the Seahawks in 2020 have a great offense that has the ceiling to be one of the best in the NFL, which is below the Chiefs probably, and a defense that has somewhat improved but is still below average. They've looked better over the last 3 games. Fortunately for Seahawks fans, the schedule is very easy for the next few weeks, but I continue to think we're not going to learn a lot about this pass defense. The run defense is very good, but it doesn't really matter these days, right? The pass defense has struggled, obviously, all season. Guys have been out, guys have been hurt, guys are coming back. Obviously, the Dunlap trade was nice, but that's going to be the key to whether this team can actually contend. Can they just get an average defense, an average pass rush without blitzing Jamal Adams? And I believe that answer is not going to come to us until late December.
I guess, but Adams is so amazing at blitzing that he gets home quite a bit. But I understand what you're saying, that you can't depend on him getting home. Certainly, if he does leave a hole where a quarterback, perhaps more artful than Wentz, can exploit it. And Dunlap is definitely a game changer. Bobby Wagner, I mean, that play, I know he Wentz underthrew Goddard last night, but Wentz, throwing to Goddard, but Bobby Wagner going stride for stride with Goddard was amazing. With Carson coming back, that definitely helps. But where do you think the let Russ cook epiphany came from this offense that normally would not allow any cooking whatsoever? Where do you think the epiphany arrived, Mina?
Internet bullying, Rich, the way everything happens. No, I think it's a mixture of things, right? Because I think something that Wilson, from what I hear, has kind of been advocating for a little bit more control of the offense, a little bit more risk-taking early on. And Brian Schottenheimer, he's in his 3rd year there. I think they're kind of figuring things out. He's really underrated as a play caller. The Seahawks offense is very creative and has a lot of really great concepts. I think there was some frustration, especially in 2018. The wild card game against the Cowboys come to mind, where they keep running into a brick wall, and it was justified. There's now, I think, a question of, okay, where, and this is something all teams face, on the early down pass rate thing, how far is too far? Because for a while there, when Carson was out, it felt like Wilson, part of the reason he was struggling is because teams were blitzing the bejesus out of him. And there is, I think, some functionality to having a run game to neutralize some of that. So they've been trying to figure it out and sort of find that balance. But to me, I think it has certainly unlocked the offense, especially in first half this year. And it's something I hope they sustain, even as they, Chris Carson's a fantastic running back, even as they work to integrate him more into the plan. Mina
Kimes here on the Rich Eisen Show. You can catch Mina on NFL Live at 4 Eastern on ESPN daily. And your work as a writer is phenomenal too, Mina. Who's your favorite interview that you got? You deep dived, and you got into that deep dive, and you're like, I really dig this individual, and I can't wait to write about this individual. Who is that for you?
I just started Aaron Rodgers a few years ago that I was pretty proud of, mostly because he just kind of he was kind of private a little bit until then, and I really enjoyed getting to know him. But I actually think the real answer, Rich, if I'm being honest, is that my first cover story at ESPN in 2015 was on Darrelle Revis, which I just love because he was an absolute weirdo in the best way, total introvert. I went into it thinking, okay, I'm going to write about how savvy this guy is about money. He's such a mercenary. He's famous for, beating the NFL. But really what I found was just like a total loner who didn't really care what anyone thought of him, and honestly was just a lovely guy. So I really liked him, and I really liked that piece.
Well, I think he does care what people say about him. I mean, he and Richard Sherman have
that's true.
Had quite a bit going back and forth since then.
They've been chopping it up. That's
interesting.
Right.
A loner, you found him, and then Aaron Rodgers, you found him as who when you interviewed him?
I think a guy who has had a real evolution over the last 10 years or so in the way this is from him to me, just kind of like the way he was seeing the world outside of football. His interests had changed a lot as years have gone by. He's a very thoughtful person. And really just like he kind of reminded me of someone I would just know,
right.
Which is, I know it sounds so silly, but yeah, as you get older, covering the NFL, they stay the same age in the, Fast Times kind of quote. But Aaron Rodgers is actually my peer, so I enjoyed that as well.
Well, tell me about it.
We're both in our mid-30s.
Tell me about it. Your colleague, Dan Orlovsky, came on yesterday, told me he enjoyed watching me growing up, is what he said. So, I mean, but in terms of Aaron Rodgers, he came on this show a couple months ago, and I asked him about the narrative about him having a chip on his shoulder because of the drafting and the way his team drafted. Yeah. And he said it was the exact opposite, that he is at peace with everything, that he's been working on himself. And then he came on just last week, and I asked him how somebody like him watches a Rams-Bucks Monday night game. He said he didn't watch it at all because he had to get to sleep, and he's reading a book about dreams that he's really into. And we literally spent 2 minutes talking about the concept of interpreting dreams. I've never had a conversation like that with an NFL quarterback. That's for sure.
Oh, that's great. Well, I've enjoyed watching him in that offense this year. Rich,
it's been amazing.
It's amazing, and it's a version of him in playing within the structure of that sort of offense that we've never seen before. So it's just really fun. So before I let you go, where do you rank everybody in the NFC? Because we're still waiting. We're still waiting on Week 12 to wrap up with 2 from the AFC North. The NFC is all wrapped up through a dozen weeks. Crystal ball it for me, Mina. Oh my goodness, the NFC is a disaster. I mean, it's not a disaster; it's wide open, right? Because the AFC, it's really I feel it's the Chiefs, Steelers, and everyone else. It's complicated by the fact I'm doing the thing where I hedge instead of answering your question. It's complicated by the fact that the Saints are the best team, but they don't have a quarterback right now, right? Now, if Drew Brees comes back healthy, I think they're the best team, period. But that's a big question mark. I don't think we know what it'll even look like when he comes back. And, of course, he's tailed off at the end of the season in recent years. But I do think they're the best team. So I will say that with the major caveat that we don't know what the situation is at quarterback. And I'll go full homer. I'll put Seattle behind there because I think they're improving, getting healthy at the right time.
They're the 2 seed right now, too. And, and I hear you with the Chiefs and the Steelers, and part of me leans in that direction because we haven't seen them yet. The football scheduling gods saw fit not to have them on the same regular season schedule. So that's lurking out there as an unknown, a rare unknown for a playoff matchup. But I keep thinking that we're all sleeping on the Titans again. That Derrick Henry, yes, because Derrick Henry is running like the Derrick Henry of January of 2020, right? Now here we are in December of 2020, and we're seeing the same thing. And A.J. Brown is now more significant than he was in the January run. I think they're better. Now, defensively, we may have an issue, but
That's the issue for me, yeah.
I think we're sleeping. We might be sleeping on the Titans again, Mina.
Well, they're a fun team to watch. They're a throwback, that's for sure. I enjoy watching them a lot.
And Henry's been just incredible lately as well. So, I just figured I'd give you a call to talk about that. And also, like I said, I've enjoyed your work and having you on this show. And I got to be honest with you. Part of the reason why I had you on is I thought that by some off chance, every time somebody calls you, they get $1 million. And that hasn't happened in the last 16 minutes. Chris, did we get an email? Did Kimmel call us or anything like that?
Yeah, I haven't really seen anything
All right.
yet.
Well, so I guess you're not just a human slot machine like that, basically. No.
My phone would be blowing up if that was the case.
Mina, congrats on being part of a fun, huge, viral television moment like that and everything going on with you at ESPN. Let's chat down the line.
Anytime. Take care.
You got it. That's Mina Kimes. Follow her on Twitter. I do. Her Twitter game is phenomenal. At Mina Kimes on Twitter. There's an underscore on the Instagram, I believe. There you go. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.